guten Tag, and what's up? Who are you?
Well, I'm Frederick from 10x Labs.
Oh, cool. I said that before, right?
Yeah, you did, but we got it twice.
Yeah. And you're gonna hold a lecture or a seminar, whatever, workshop
It's a workshop, yeah.
with our students,
Yes.
for our students. What is the workshop about?
Well, the workshop is actually about how to make use of 1,000 interns. If I gave you 1,000 interns, just here, you can have them. It's for free.
Wow!
What do you make them do? It's kind of about that, at
I
least.
have a bunch of ideas.
See, that's awesome.
Okay.
And also, it's a bit about why you shouldn't be afraid of AI, why Hollywood is wrong, and why AI is actually a good thing, and why it's similar to the pen. How the pen is
AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Yes.
How that is going to affect us the same way that the pen did when that came into being a long, long time ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
It is.
Okay. Let's check it out
All right.
and subscribe.
Yes.
So, then, action. Hello, everybody. We are 10x Labs. Hi. I'm Sebastian.
I'm Frederick.
And now Fredrik will step out of frame for a moment. And I will begin. In short, we are 10x Labs. This is our business model. Help people to thrive, not just survive, in these times of exponential change. So we're here today to not talk about artificial intelligence. This is not an artificial intelligence workshop. While understanding what AI is and isn't, that's basically what we're trying to achieve here today. You're not going to learn how to code it, and you're not going to learn how to deploy it, but you're going to understand what it is and what it means. And if I were to summarize it in one sentence, it would be this. Because this is really a workshop about how to deploy 1,000 unpaid interns. And today, the state of the art, the best examples of these technologies, and we'll mention them in a bit, can be likened with having 1,000 interns that never sleep, that never rest, that don't have to get paid, can just do their stuff. And by that I'm saying that AI isn't really that clever. AI today is not able to do anything or learn anything. It can do specific things really, really well, but only super specific things. A driverless car can indeed drive itself better than a human, but it can do nothing else. It couldn't play chess and couldn't learn how to. So when we think about AI today, conceptually, metaphorically, you should think of, what if I had 1,000 unpaid interns that I could just deploy on a clearly defined problem? If I can define the problem, and if it's not more complex than what an intern could do, well then all of a sudden I have 1,000 interns for that problem. You couldn't create AI. People tried for over 50 years. And why is that? Well, as it turns out, the answer is quite simple when you think about it. We were unable to create artificial intelligence because we're not smart enough. Human beings cannot create a thinking machine. We have tried for 50 years, but we cannot program. Programming, writing code, is writing instructions to software, which, if you think about it, makes the software only as smart as you. And if you're a team, it might be as smart as the whole lot of you. But really, you cannot instruct something to be more than what you tell it to be. People did try. But AI in the old days, and it didn't work out, was a long series of if-else statements. Because you cannot instruct intelligence. Intelligence must be taught. Which is why this is a seminar about machine learning. The idea of machine learning, it was brought up, I think, in the 70s by some researchers at Stanford as a kind of way of, what if we just could take all the data and write an algorithm where the software could find patterns? People said, that's never going to work, because who has that much data? Who has the bandwidth? Because it was extremely labor and resource intensive, you see, to do machine learning. And no one had, until the early 2000s, a lot of data, fast bandwidth, and cheap computers. You guys are very young, so you don't remember the early days before the internet. But the internet, no one had really counted on that happening. And all of a sudden, there were huge amounts of data cheaply available. For example, maybe a few years ago you actually heard the news. Google announced that the Google search window could recognize cats and label them accordingly. That is because people, human beings, had labeled thousands upon thousands of pictures of cats. That's where it's good if you have lots of users who can kind of do that for you. Pictures of cats. And then it showed those pictures to an algorithm and helped it kind of define what does a cat consist of. It has pointy ears, a little nose, whiskers, paws, that kind of thing. And then it learned to distinguish those patterns. And eventually it could, with high degree of certainty, look at new unlabeled pictures of cats and label it accordingly. And if you have lots of these layers, if you stack these type of instructions upon one another in a neural net, then you can learn very advanced complex tasks because they intertwine. But how does it work? How does machine learning work? It is a bit like raising a child, you know? Or maybe a pet, a very intelligent pet. You have to teach it from a very, very basic level how something works, what is right and what is wrong. And you have to start at a very simple level. For example, and these demos are quite popular, and Google is of course very much ahead in this game. They have taught AIs to play classic computer games or video games like Super Mario. Quite simple, you know, right, forward and jump. That's about it you can do. And they've shown the progression of these algorithms who are not being programmed to play. They're being told you can do right, left and jump. And then take a look at the score up there. That's the thing. You will make the score increase. That's the only instruction given. Then it just stands there and nothing happens. And it's a super bad Super Mario player. And then it tries to take a step forward, it falls into lava. And it's still shit. And then the human kind of comes in and say, don't step on lava, try jumping. A bit like raising a child in a very narrow context. And then all of a sudden it tries to jump. And if you look at these kind of speed demos of AI learning progression, it is really, really bad. Worse than any human being that would sit down, because we are quite intuitive. We are quite intelligent as well. We have another type of intelligence. But once the computer reaches human level, then it continues to learn, and it does so exponentially, which means it becomes very quickly the best Super Mario player ever. But it does require vast amounts of data, which is why machine learning never worked in the olden days. No one had that much data. No one had 1 million pictures of cats on their own desktop computer. And no one counted upon the fact of the internet, which changed the whole thing. You may not have driven in a Tesla on autopilot. I haven't. But you may have seen videos of YouTube on Tesla cars that brake before accidents happen. Anyone seen that? If not, you should check it out. How is a car able to, before an accident actually occurs, preemptively brake? Because Tesla has had their sensor suites in their cars for many years now. And they haven't had autopilot, as they call it, which is not a self-driving car. It is a heavily driver-assisted car. For years before they had that function, they had the sensors, the radars, the everything. And it taught itself how humans drive cars, how the actual driver does and what other cars do. And it started to recognize patterns. So when it was actually able to take over and drive on the freeways, it knew how to drive, and it knew what an accident looks like. It knows what the preceding seconds before an accident looks like, because it has seen it. And that's the same thing as with my Google Pixel. If a Tesla drives on a fresh road for the first time, it catalogs the road conditions, the everything. So the next time a Tesla drives there, it already knows. The fleet learns collectively at the same time. So your car gets better at driving for every week. Now this is the future, ladies and gentlemen. This is the future of all connected things. And that's, of course, why we're here talking about it today. What it comes down to, though, is vast amounts of quality data. That is the gist of it. That is the thing we'd like for you to take with you. You can't just do this unless you have an enormous library of stuff to go through. And the library must be labeled. That's the thing with the cats, right? Before Google could teach itself how to recognize cats and people, a human had to input and label all these images, so it had learning to go from. So this means, and this is what you'll be working with in the workshop in a little bit, if you have quality data in huge quantities somewhere, then you could do kick-ass machine learning. The question is, where are those untapped libraries of quality data? Yes, that's the point I was trying to make. We call this ML gyms, machine learning gyms, where you train, where you teach. You can think of these times as, right now, 2018 is the point in time where all the Silicon Valley firms and all the high-tech companies, they're already using machine learning in the field, enhancing their products. But almost everybody else have only just now figured it out that it's a thing. So most legacy systems, like, you know, the phone operators or SVT Play or whatever service you use that is not from Silicon Valley, probably does not have machine learning in it yet. It will. But if you think of what's the cool hip shit happening right now, it's not the blockchain, not yet, though we have another seminar about that as well. It's definitely machine learning. It's the thing that's being disruptive right now. In a world controlled by GAFA and BAT. By the way, write these terms down. They are in industry monikers. GAFA is Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon, which I think collectively are worth like $3 trillion. And more importantly, they control our complete digital lives, except they don't in China, where BAT does the same thing. Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. Baidu is like Google, but in China, Alibaba is like Amazon, and Tencent is, well, all the things, eBay, Snapchat, Facebook, banks, and more. These are the new superpowers. And yes, we do have a seminar specifically about those as well. But these are the big forces that truly use this new technology and others at the forefront, and they're killing every other industry with it. You guys are heading into, unless you make another choice, in the advertisement business, right? That's what Hyper Island usually exports their talent towards. Sorry to say, there is no advertisement business anymore. It's just Google and Facebook. And the rest, those who still remain, they work for Google and Facebook. They just don't know it necessarily. Because they have the best algorithms. They have access to all the people. How many users does Facebook have now? Nearly 2 billion. Google have the rest. They have this dominion because of the way they use technology, and machine learning and AI very much at the front of it. So what can then smaller old-time players do? Well, it depends, right? It depends. The fight isn't over quite yet. And there's an interesting thing that we'd like to mention here before Fredrik takes over and talk about what AI and machine learning will do to us in a more philosophical and human sense. It is this. How many have heard of OpenAI? Here, an initiative kickstarted by Elon Musk of Tesla, SpaceX, Hyperloop, PayPal, Boring Company fame. Also a guy called Sam Altman of Y Combinator. You've heard of Sam Altman or Y Combinator? Look it up. It is the only accelerator in Silicon Valley, worth noting. And Sam Altman is basically the Jörg of Y Combinator. They started OpenAI. This is a non-profit open research institution where they actually try to distribute these techniques, how to do machine learning and how to find data sets. They have lots of data, they have lots of research, lots of people that actually want to just spread the awareness, give more people and companies access to these tools, so that it's not just GAFA and BAT that does it, right? Elon Musk started this because he is super afraid of scary general AI that will kill us. And he thinks the best way to avoid that happening is that more people have access to the tools, so that more people can make informed choices, so that it's not just the really big and few players who have access to this technology. And that's where I'll stop, and Fredrik take over, right?
How many of you know who Kasparov is? Kasparov? Chess player? Yeah, he was the chess player, the grandmaster of the grandmasters. IBM built an AI called Deep Blue. And they said, well, this machine, it's gonna play a game of chess and we'll see who wins. And the first game, Kasparov won. And IBM went back and they said, well, can we have a rematch, please? And he said, sure, of course. And they had a rematch and the machine won. He lost, the grandmaster lost against the machine in 1997. And I think it only took maybe 20 moves for him to lose. And he was flustered, he was shocked. How could this even happen? And he left the game and he said, well, I want a rematch. Because he really didn't believe that a machine won. He believed that IBM was working in cojones with the machine, helping the machine. So it was actually a machine and a person beating him. We do not know, because IBM said, no, sorry, we won, screw you. And they just killed Deep Blue. But the idea that Kasparov had, the idea of a machine and a human working together, that kind of lingered with him. And we're talking about a centaur. You know what a centaur is? The animal, half human, half horse. Looks like this. If you ever played Dungeons and Dragons, that is the centaur. That interested him a lot. But so what he did in 2005, he set up a competition, online competition, chess competition, of course, where you can sign up as a person, an amateur or an expert or a grandmaster, or you can sign up your AI, or if you wanted to, you could sign up yourself and an AI. You can play in teams. There were no rules how to set this up. Who won, do you think? Who won that competition?
Human and AI.
That is correct. Well, it also says there, but yeah, that is correct. The best humanoid player didn't win, and the best AI didn't win, which was kind of what people were guessing, because if an AI is capable of beating a human, wouldn't the human just slow the AI down? But that didn't happen. It was actually a human and an AI who won. And it wasn't even the best human, and it wasn't even the best AI. There was actually 2 humans and 3 average AIs working together that won the competition. So what he realized was, well, there's nothing more powerful than a human and an AI working together. We're going to shortly dive into another technology. I think you heard about it. It's the pen. Have you heard about it? Yeah, the one you have in your hand. Yes, you have heard about it. It's an awesome thing. Actually, right after the war, Second World War, there was a professor who did an experiment, and he spent a lot of research money, and he took a pen and he tied a brick to it. This is not a brick because those are heavy, but this was the experiment, and he gave it to people and said, well, you should write with this. How was that experience compared to what you've been doing throughout the seminar so far? Different? Better? Worse? Worse, yeah. It's not as efficient, is it? It's kind of a stupid design of a pen. And the point he was trying to make is, well, the pen took over some tasks from us, didn't it? The pen helped us with storing data. We weren't able to store the data for a long, long time, so we learned how to write. We learned how to transfer the data from our memory into a book. We also made it possible to transfer that information over oceans. We also made it possible to make it into hundreds and thousands of copies, because that wasn't possible when it was just me. We took a technology and we unloaded a burden onto it and said, you can do that. I don't want to remember this. Very few people today say that that is an issue, that the pen has destroyed us as humans. There was actually one person who did. He said that by introducing this tool, and he was talking about the chalkboard, we are making the people working as teachers invaluable. They will no longer be competent. They cannot teach anything. A person who does not know everything in his head is a bad person. It's a horrible teacher. I think it was Socrates. So there was those people. But the pen was not just us unburdening tasks onto it. It also made other things possible. It made it possible for people to work together, for us to store data, to create new inventions. Inventions which had never been possible had we not had the pen. And we talked about who won the chess tournament, right? In 2005, it was 2 guys and 3 computers. None of them really that good at what they were doing. So why do you think they won? It's the human plus computer part. You can have average humans and you can have average computers. But if you have a good plus, then you're winning the process. Because what they did was they posted the question to all these 3, well, the 3 AIs, and said, how should I do? What is the move we should do? And they came up with an answer. And when it differed between the computers, they asked a new question. Okay, so what about this? What would we do if this was true? How should we act then? And they kept doing that until the machines agreed with their assistants, agreed upon a move, and then they made that move. So the key wasn't in building the best AI, nor was it in having the best chess-playing person. It was about having the best process between these 2 entities. How to best use your pen. Just putting on the table and roll it back and forth wouldn't be helpful. If you could have the best pen in the world, you would still be lousy using it, right? So then, what is it that humans do that machines doesn't? What is humans inherently good at? Well, one way to find out is to look at, well, what is a kid good at? Small kid, what is that good at? Being creative, yes.
Asking questions.
Yeah, definitely that. When they're 5, fucking horrible. But also interesting, but yeah. Imagination, definitely. Experimenting, yeah. 3 of those. And that's, we call them soft skills usually. And for a lot of people, they are not really appreciated as they should be. Say, well, everyone has them, so why are they important? Look at you can count, you can do logic, that's important. Soft skills, well, we all have them. Well, we all have them because 3.5 billion years of practice. That's why we all been given that. And we can make a computer that will beat the best chess player or the best AlphaGo player, but we still haven't been able to make a computer that can hold a normal conversation for 10 minutes. The thing is, this is stuff a computer is good at. Computations, memory, logic, numerology, things that we learn in school, right? Things that we go to school to teach ourselves because we believe it's important. Counting, doing calculus. Because we used to be important for us to know those things because no one else did it for us. It used to be important to have a good memory because where else would you store your data? And then the pen came. The AI is there to choose your answers. And we are there to choose the questions. We ask it why, we ask it how, and we ask it what if we did this thing. And that is how they work together in the chess game. They ask, what if we did this? How could we achieve this thing? And the AI will directly give them answers, 3 of them, and they will see, do they match, do they correlate? What kind of information, what kind of new questions would we find in this? And looking into this, we can start talking about what will be the bottleneck skill that will be needed in the market in the future if we have access to all the answers. At every single point, just pull up your phone and ask it, and you will get an answer. Then the skill that is going to be mostly sought after is the skill to ask good questions.
You're still watching. Seems like you found this interesting. AI, machine learning. Well, Maybe AI could help me to vlog. So, if AI and machine learning makes or encourages me as a human being to be creative and ask the right questions or smart questions. The first question to myself would be to myself, so that I can find smart questions. To the AI, the obvious first question to myself would be, what do I need help with? What would I use 1,000 interns for? 1,000. 1,000 interns.